Medic!
Welcome back, everybody. Brand new podcast, episode 10 of Medic Up. I hope you guys and girls have been watching the new episodes of A&E's Nightwatch Nation. It's a spin-off from that wildly popular Nightwatch that, if you guys remember, followed New Orleans EMS paramedics and EMTs during their night shifts. So now Nightwatch Nation follows EMS crews from around 4 different areas of the country: Tucson, Arizona, Austin, Texas, Yonkers, New York, and Baton Rouge, Louisiana. This show sucked me in. I love the variety of seeing the multiple services and providers from around the country doing what they do. The videography is superb, second only to the skills showcased by the subjects that are being filmed. I think the show does an outstanding job showcasing EMS around the country. And if you haven't watched it, shoot over to A&E and check it out. There's plenty of clips online as well as full episodes. And I think if you sign in with your cable or satellite provider, you'll be able to watch those. So today, I have one of the Rockstar medics from Nightwatch Nation on the show, LACEY SPENCER from EAST BATON ROUGE EMS. LACEY's as high speed as they come, literally. She's a street medic, bike medic, SWAT medic. She's the recipient of EAST BATON ROUGE EMS Paramedic of the Year in 2015, as well as the Louisiana State Paramedic of the Year in 2015. And now she's a TV star showcasing EMS on a national level. I have a small production note for you guys. You might have to listen to this episode at a slightly higher volume than normal. This was the first guest who has called in, and the learning curve was pretty steep for me in recording phone calls. I sound like I'm sitting right next to you, but LACEY's volume, the way I recorded it, is a little bit lower and not as loud as I would have liked it. So you may have to mess with the volume as you listen. I tried to fix it in post-production as best I could without distorting her voice, and I think it works out really well. I hope you guys enjoy it. And if you guys check on the show notes, you can see some links to LACEY's social media and read about some of her achievements. So, guys, I hope you enjoy it, and here we go. LACEY SPENCER from EAST BATON ROUGE, and I think I'm saying it right, Rouge EMS in Louisiana, and she is one of the medics who's featured on the Nightwatch Nation TV show that started back in August, and oddly enough, we're recording this the night of their season 1 finale. And we'll circle back around to it, but there was an episode that featured her and her partner, and she said some things. It ran a call, and it kind of struck me, and I said, you know what, I'm going to go find this person and kind of see what we can talk about. I think they have an interesting point of view. And as I was stalking you on social media, I was finding out more things here and there, and I was like, wow, this is I think this will go really well, especially when I found a couple pictures from some of your accomplishments. But I tried to get a bio, and like everybody else who comes on the show, nobody gives me the bio ahead of time. And I think people are, no one ever wants to like toot their own horn. They're like, oh, quiet professional, I'm so humble. And they don't want to say like, I did this and I did that. And like when other people see it, I'm like, man, that's awesome. You did it great. I would definitely tell everyone in the world about that. So unfortunately, I'm going to make you do it. So since we couldn't make it happen ahead of time, why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself? And maybe, a little bit of, your experience coming up in EMS, what you've been doing.
All right, cool. First of all, thanks for reaching out and, talking about some heavy stuff that we kind of go through as paramedics. I've been a paramedic for 9 years. 7 of that has been with EAST BATON ROUGE EMS. Through my time with Baton Rouge EMS, I have become a SWAT medic. I'm also a bike medic. I'm also part of our CISM team. That's something here at EAST BATON ROUGE EMS that we feel like we need to have a very active team, because we do have a high burnout rate in our profession, because we see some of the worst things that people see, and we need to be there to adopt that lifestyle of taking care of our own, which is something that traditionally EMS in the past hasn't done a very good job of, and it's just now kind of coming to the forefront. It's okay to talk about these things that, people don't want to talk about. But through my time with EMS, 2015, I was selected our department Paramedic of the Year, which was a very humbling experience. At any given day, that could be given to any one of my coworkers. And so to be chosen, that was a very humbling experience for me. And then to go further, to be chosen as the state paramedic of the year for the state of Louisiana, that was, even more humbling experience. Like you said, tooting your own horn, that's not me, and it'll never be me. I just, once you find a passion for what you do, and you do that job well, and you pride yourself in doing that job well, if people recognize that, they do. If they don't, they don't. You're still happy with the work product that you give back to your community. As far as just awards through Baton Rouge EMS, our Medal of Valor, I received that for my response in the July 2016 police ambushes that happened in Baton Rouge. And, that was one of the worst days of my career. Really the most trying day of my career. My friends were being killed in front of me, and that's a hard pill to swallow. And when you're a SWAT medic and you're responding with the SWAT team, that's something that you have to be ready for. And we never think something like that will happen in our city, and then it does. That the Medal of Valor, it's like, I was just doing what any paramedic would have done, honestly. So it's like, while people have recognized the actions that I've done as a paramedic, it's not anything that I feel like is special that another paramedic on any given day wouldn't have done the exact same thing.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And the honorable service, of course, that's for just my dedication, to the profession through precepting students and teaching those students. I feel like building confidence in those young minds is so huge that they come out and they're confident instead of being absolutely scared to death. Because you may be scared to death, but you can't show that.
Right.
Got to take command of that chaos, and we can talk about being scared a little later. But in the meantime, when you're on that call, you got to get through it.
Right.
And then of course, honor guard. That's one of the most. I keep on saying the word humbling, but anytime you honor someone else, it's a humbling experience because, number one, we're able to honor that person for whatever reason, and it's never a good, happy moment. At the end of the day, someone lost their life either in the line of duty or not. But it's what we do as a profession, and as being part of those thin lines. The red line, the blue line, and the white line, yellow, green. You name it. It's got all those colors. We all do our jobs, and we do it for the good of our fellow man. So.
I agree with you 100%. And it sounds like you have done a lot in 9 years. You sound like you've stuffed 25 years into 9. I appreciate that 100%. And I think that's cool. I'm kind of taking notes as you talk again, because like I said, no bio. I had to hear all that. I heard a lot of that for the first time. But two things that I just kind of wrote down, and I'll come back to these. I think maybe a little bit later. But to me, I would automatically, if somebody said after this, like, "Hey man, what was it like talking to her?" I'd be like, two things I would say is, number one, dedicated, and number two, if I had to pull somebody to push this profession, and I hate to say market, but I think it's at a place where we are, I would say, and again, this is within 10 minutes of talking to you and 5 minutes on the phone yesterday, I would say LACEY SPENCER is an ambassador for EMS. So along with all the other stuff you've been doing, again, you're probably somebody, again, without knowing you personally, I would say this would be somebody I would hate to lose in EMS if you got bored of the job, burn out from the job. And that's just me, and obviously, what everybody in America sees on the show. And I think it would probably be, I don't think I would be the only person to say that. So,
I appreciate that.
No problem. credit where credit's due always, and we don't get enough of it in the job. And again, the quiet professional says, I'm just doing my job, I'm just doing my thing. I like taking care of patients.
Right.
So with that,
that's why it was kind of strange. Nightwatch Nation is obviously, a nationwide program, and it's like, well, how can you be humble but you're on everybody's TV screens? And it's like, you said it, you hit it on the head, an ambassador of EMS. I preach this all the time, and I thought it would be hypocritical of me to not try and show America, what I feel like our profession embodies. And so that's why I jumped on the opportunity, not for LACEY Spencer, but for our profession, and to really give it an honest, open look to America. And that's something that Stacy and I both, we just felt like it was important.
I think you're absolutely right, and I mean that's one of those opportunities that gets a lot dropped in your lap, and I think there's probably a very large percentage of pre-hospital providers across the country who will be like, I don't want them people in my truck. They don't need to know. They just need to know you call 911 and I show up and I do my thing and people live. Don't worry about how I handle it. And I think probably years ago, I think I would probably be one of those people like, don't worry about it, public. You call, we haul. I'll take care of you. Don't worry about it.
Right.
But
well, and Chris, as our call volume across the nation increases, our I guess recognition increases too. It's like, what do these people really do? And we're a young profession. We really are. When you think about the fire department, police department, EMS is really new on the scene as far as medical providers. 40 years ago, you had the hearse coming to your house, and they were the same thing. And now it's like, oh my goodness, we're doing simple thoracotomies, and I mean, goodness gracious, y'all are doing some wild stuff.
Are you doing simple thoracotomies?
Yes, we are here.
I'm gonna move. I'm gonna move. If you guys could just could curtail those hurricanes things and alligators, I'd move. I would move. No, you're absolutely right. And I normally I would say I hate that. I hate hearing that we're a young profession. And I got to come to terms with it. That 40 and 50 years is young when you look at nursing and you look at other things. And you're right. And we progressed pretty far, pretty fast. And it's I remember going to. I mean, I graduated Paramedic School in 2002. And
oh wow.
Thanks. And I remember in that time period that EMS agenda for the future was just finishing up, and what's EMS look like for the next 15 to 20 years. Now we're at EMS 2050, EMS 2.0, 3.0 with all that other stuff, and we were talking back then. The coolest thing, we were talking about expanded scope paramedics, and you were going to be a junior PA, and you were going to be doing stitches in the field, and that kind of went by the wayside, and all of a sudden you've got community paramedic, you've got all the other facets of EMS, and I think, it's definitely easy to lose sight of quality patient care. The education piece is a big thing now. Everyone's going to we need to start requiring degrees in EMS, and that needs to be the gold. That needs to be the gold standard in the United States, and if we're not going to be accepted as a profession if we don't, and I understand. And I teach, I teach in a degree program, and I get it. And I think, I think we put out a great product. Obviously, I mean, again, I'm trying to be humble, but we put out a good product. And our students go on and they do things like you do. They become SWAT medics. They do all the other, they become community paramedics, they become supervisors, training officers, they get into education down the road, and, or they move on to nursing. We've had ones go to med school, PA school, nurse practitioner school, and, they stay involved in medicine. So it's always good to see they got that pre-hospital piece, and then they move on to whatever else, which, I think is beneficial. And I mean, I'm excited to see where we're headed next, and I'm excited to be a part of it. And there's days where I'm like, I just want to go back to the ambulance. I want to do the ambulance full time. I'd rather be out meeting patients. And then there's other days where the back's kind of sore, and I'm like, I don't want to carry Granny down the steps. I'm glad I'm in the office and go to clinicals, and the bad patients come to me, and I get to see what happens. So it's Typical EMS people. So how did you get in? How did you get into EMS? How did EMS find you? Did you find EMS? I always find there's like those two types of people.
I would say that, it kind of found me. My career path was on a completely different track, I guess. I had graduated with my bachelor's degree in biology from LSU Shreveport in 2006. And, I was going to go the whole med school route. But I lived in Shreveport, kind of wanted to get my feet a little, wet. And so I had applied to the medical school in New Orleans. Well, Katrina happened. So everything just kind of got sidetracked. I was put on the whole entire state, just really got up in 2005. And so I moved down to Baton Rouge because you really couldn't find a place in New Orleans. And I was going to try and get some patient contact experience. So I started working in what was our charity hospital in Baton Rouge, Earl K. Long. And I was working in the ER, and I was like, who are these people coming in with these patients? And it's sad to say that at that time, I had no idea what an EMT was, what a paramedic was, or any intermediate. Like, I had no clue the pre-hospital care because I was born and raised in Arkansas. Our ambulance was our best friend's pickup truck. We knew that you could call 911, but at the same time, we never really saw ambulances. I grew up on a horse farm, so, we just, we were out in the middle of nowhere. And so anyway, I was working in there. The supervisor came in, and I was like, so tell me what y'all do. And he's kind of talking about it, and he said, well, come do a ride-along. And that was the beginning of the end for me.
Right. That's like, I always tell people it's like the drug game. You always find that one person, or there's that one little, I have it written, and it's not written on the outline I gave to you. And it was kind of helped me to kind of segue in, and it says, how did you get in here? How did you get into this? And it says, typically it's from my notes. It says, there's usually two types, and you know them. You've been in EMS for a period of time, so right. There's two types of people who get into EMS. You got the I saw a bad accident and I was the first there and I felt helpless and I don't want to feel like that again. So I took an EMT class and then I took my first ride out and all of a sudden they're hooked. And then you've got the other group, right. And the other group is you. I got a little lost on my way to med school / PA school / nurse practitioner school. It's like I asked somebody what it was about, and that one person, it's like that guy in the alley is like, here, take this, it's free the first time, come back and see me. And you got that ride along, and you're like, you know what, EMT class only 15 weeks long, I can do anything for 15 weeks. And then here you are 9 years later, glittery patch on your shoulder, a bunch of cool medals, medic of the year. And I'm going to put words in your mouth. If I had to guess, you don't really have a plan to go to medical school in the next 2 years, do you?
Oh, no. I knew that going and getting that kind of went out the window. I had no intention of obtaining a paramedic and then going to medical school. I knew I wanted to help people, and that was the extent of it. I knew that working inside a sedentary place was not me. It wasn't my personality. And getting on that ambulance, it fit the bill. And so, some people, they get bored of that. I think with my, I'll say, extracurricular activities as a paramedic, I'm not just a paramedic on an ambulance. It really keeps me on my toes, entertained, and active. That's one of the things that, I don't become complacent in my learning, so it keeps me interested in the field completely and, passionate about it still.
That's good. And I like to hear that from somebody 9 years. I like to hear that from people 9 years in. That's extremely cool because we know the turnover, right? When you probably see people, you know what? EAST Baton Rouge EMS, it looks like you have a pretty solid group of people because I'm not going to lie. I looked for your job postings and I was like, ooh, and there doesn't seem to be too many openings. So it looks like when people are there, they're pretty happy and they're there for a while, versus that 3-4 year turnover and people are like, well, it's up or out. out. I'm going to go to nursing school, or I'm tired of the bullshit, or this place isn't what I thought, or I'm going to go do something else in general. So, and again, trust me, I'm not downing you for kind of taking that sidestep from medical school. I completely understand, as somebody who ended up in a biology degree and a pre-med track and realized that EMS was really cool and school was a little more difficult. I didn't want to read in the summer. I was not the above average student, and I decided to go back to school to become a teacher because that seemed like fun. And I got to my student teaching and I walked out because I was climbing the walls 5 days a week, teaching biology to high school kids, and I hated it. And I said, EMS is fun, and I've been pretty good at that, and I was just goofing off, riding as an explorer, and went to paramedic school, and was like, you know what, this is good. I like this. I'm good at this. This is fun. This gets me out of the house. I get to meet new people all the time and ask them about their bowel and bladder habits. I'm in. So where do I sign up?
Right.
but yeah, I mean, I absolutely understand your point of view for that. So tell me about medic school.
Well, I had never been on a, honestly, this is going to sound conceited, and I don't mean it to be, but it's just the ignorance of what all paramedic school would entail. Somebody told me, it's going to be the hardest thing in life. I'm like, look, I was the first person in my family to get a degree. How is that going to be much harder? And they were right, because you're not just dealing with learning the curriculum, you're also learning in how you're going to deal with really, really bad stuff that happens to really, really good people.
Right.
And that's something that you have to kind of learn to take care of yourself. And you're not, I hate to say you're not ready for it, but like, I remember the first time I did CPR, I was like, well, this is not a mannequin.
Right.
Every student would tell you that.
Right.
The first time I intubated, like, that doesn't look like it's like those mannequins.
Wow, that tongue is giant and in my way no matter what I do. Right. Right.
It's a whole lot nastier than what what I thought it was going to be.
Right.
But, I mean, so it was hard in a completely different way, managing your life around clinicals and still having to work, and it's like, goodness gracious, it was a lot. And so I was shocked that I struggled with paramedic school, that it was not a walk in the park.
Right, that 4-year bio degree was pretty not too bad, right? And then all of a sudden you're having to memorize drug profiles and ECG rules, and you're having to apply both of those to my crashing patient in front of me, and he's just a piece of plastic, but your preceptor's gone, well, you killed that guy. You gave him a paralytic and didn't breathe for him for 3 minutes. Where's your head at today? That's not what right looks like.
And so you're, in a lot of ways, the creative mindset of going through paramedic school really, really developed, as far as, creating scenarios and what you're supposed to be looking for. That's, it's a scenario, so it's not there. But yeah, I wouldn't say pleasantly surprised. It was not pleasant at all. Definitely surprised.
It's like being punched in the face.
Yeah, totally. But I knew, again, it was something I wanted that patch so bad, and I was going to get it. Definitely going to get it. And haven't looked back, obviously. Right.
Awesome. It's great to hear. It's great to hear. And this is my fault for not asking. Tell me about that first ride along. Forget about paramedic school. What was that first ride along like?
Oh, ambulances have their own smell, and I didn't know that until I stepped into one, and it's like that smell. It's kind of this medicine cleaner. I don't know, but I just kind of looked at it of this structure that goes out into this world of chaos. And if you think about it, that's exactly what a paramedic does. It's the structure that goes out into the chaos. And I remember sitting down and being like, oh, so the lights and sirens are on. All right. Holy cow. These people can't drive. Not the medics I was riding with.
Right. Everyone else on the road. Right.
Yeah, totally. But, you know, I did my first ride along with EAST Baton Rouge EMS, and I knew that's where I wanted to end up because of the, you know, opportunities that they had that wasn't just on the truck. You know, I found from the beginning being a SWAT medic was going to be high on my priority, and I didn't know exactly how that would go about, but, you know, it was a goal. And, you know, just different things, being an active person, a bike medic, you know, that is definitely, you add physicality to providing medicine. Like, you know, you pedal 2 miles to a cardiac arrest. Well, who's going to do CPR?
Right. I need a nap and a
me,
snack.
you know, yeah, exactly. So, but, you know, it all goes hand in hand. Good stress relievers for the job is, you know, physical activity. And that's one thing that as a profession we need to do a better job at. So that was kind of from the beginning, I guess, that I was passionate about, was applying medicine in different ways instead of at a hospital.
You didn't breeze through paramedic school. What do you have any bad memories? Do you have any, you have a good or a bad memory from school? Something that stuck out? Not maybe not that aha moment or anything, but.
Well, no. I mean, I learned, you know, I had this, when a patient tells you that they're going to die, believe them.
Universal truth, right? Yeah, universal truth.
And, you know, grabbed me by the collar and said, I'm going to die.
Right.
And, you know, I was like, no. You know, that one was probably the worst. And like I said, that was one of those moments that you're not prepared for,
right.
that they don't really go into, you know, in a book. You can't learn that in a book. Got to get out there and have that happen, unfortunately.
It's that exposure and that experience, and I've said it 100 times, if not 1,000. You know, unfortunately, the way we learn in EMS is you get burned. You know, whether you get that little overconfidence or you weren't confident enough or you were behind the eight ball and, you know, something happens and you got to learn from it. All right. Enough school talk. Let's talk about the show.
All right. Okay.
Let's talk about the show. If we can talk about the show.
All right.
So, you know, how did it happen for you guys? Did somebody just need to get an email from the boss saying, hey, this is a thing that might be happening, who's interested, or can you talk like the process for that, or?
Yeah, our director sent out an email saying that, you know, we might be one of the cities being filmed, and anybody who's interested to just respond back to the email. And I didn't respond immediately. Once again, I'd rather people know, you know, paramedic, and you know, I had to talk to my partner, and then my partner Stacy, and it's like, well, if Stacy, if she's not on board, we can't.
You don't want to split up. You don't want to split up the band if you do it and she doesn't, right? You don't want to split up the band.
Right. And so, you know, so we talked about it, and like I told you earlier, it was like, if we want to try and give an honest view of what we do, how we deal with it, and, you know, how we go out in our communities, and really, not only are we impacting these people's lives, but they impact ours as well. And, you know, we wanted to be that ambassador for our profession. So we were like, okay, literally, what the hell? And that's how it started. We sat in, and, you know, they asked us, you know, questions, tried to get to know us and that. And I'm sure that we started to answer the questions, and then, you know, went on with our own banter.
Go off on the old tangent, EMS stories. There I was.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right. So there I was, you know. And so whenever, basically, it was a couple weeks, and then they're like, okay, here's the, you know, the people or whatever. We were honestly shocked. And so it's like, okay, now what? And the biggest thing was when the production company called and like, hey, we're going to be riding with y'all tonight. And I was like, oh my goodness, I know this is going to sound so crazy, but those guys are so awesome at what they do, and they really, really do not get in the way, and you forget that they're there.
Well, like, you know, and it's hard to watch the show
And, you know, if you're a provider and you're watching the show and you're like, man, you know, it looks like that's a nice size ambulance. It's a box. You know, you're like, man, I wonder where the camera guy was crawling over 14 IV lines, and how many times did they pull the cables off the 12? And you're like, come on, what do you these guys, you got to be like, and you know, editing is what it is. You never hear the medics. You're like, hey buddy, take it. You need to lift your legs up. Hey buddy, let me get over there. Hey, let me do this. Hey, can you grab this guy's arm or whatever?
No, I mean, you know, it's like, I don't know how they do it, but I'm pretty sure they're magical in that they make themselves smaller on call.
Camera ninjas.
You know, really, they're totally, our ambulances are set up pretty big. I mean, they're pretty open, and, you know, we are used to working with a lot more people, actually, than, you know, than just the film crew. Sometimes when you load up those things with patients, there's not any room. And so it wasn't an issue at all. And like I said, they were phenomenal. I don't think that they could have put better people on the ambulance. You know, everybody was laid back and
right.
Really, like I said, you put somebody that's uptight and you're, you know, doing your thing, it wouldn't work. But I don't know where they came from, but they managed to like really put together a team of awesome people, and I can't say enough good about them.
That's fantastic.
Blue was the production company that filmed with us.
So to kind of circle around to your partner, you said I had to ask my partner. You know, I make sure everybody's on board.
Yeah.
And again, if people are following you on social media, and I'm gonna in the show notes, I'll probably link a lot of stuff to your Nightwatch Lacey account, and people can start going through the hashtags. And I guess I'm going to say you're probably going to be the one that built those, the Stacy and Lacey thing. I thought that's pretty awesome. And the Red Stick Medic stuff, and you can tell, and that's between that and the Not Today episode. There was two things that I noticed was the simple, the very organic chemistry you and your partner had together. And I was going to be super disappointed if you would have told me they just threw you two together for the show because you had similar personalities. But I could tell after about like the third episode, real simple, you guys probably been riding together for a little while.
Yeah.
Am I wrong?
No. We met, actually, it'll be 2 years at the end of December is when we first met one another. And she was on FTO, and I was just driving. So when you start here at East Baton Rouge EMS, you're with a unit commander that's kind of orientating you to the field.
Mm-hmm.
And so someone was just driving the ambulance. And I was just driving her and her unit commander around, you know, as they responded to calls and all this fun stuff. And that was the first time I met her. And she had a Jeep in the parking lot, and that was kind of where our relationship started. And, you know, we had a lot of similarities in our hobbies that we like. Particularly, I look in the mirror and she's a mirror image of me. I mean, we totally like the same thing. Some people would think that was too much, but, you know, the way that we interact with one another, it's just good humor. And, you know, I literally would say she is my soulmate in paramedic form. You know, she's very, very attentive to detail, just like I am, you know. And again, our hobbies being, we talk about that, and just our personalities and our outlooks a lot are the same. So, you know, if I can tell when she's struggling, or, you know, and I need to kind of carry her, and vice versa. You know, I consider myself exceptionally blessed that she became my partner, and that's a funny story in itself. I was just gonna kind of take her under my wing to continue. You know, once you come off of our training, you don't know everything there is about the department, so they kind of put you with a senior medic, and, you know, they show you the ropes, policies, all that fun stuff. And, you know, she was going to be probably the fourth person that I had that year. And then it was like, golly, you know, this is my partner. This is what people talk about when they say the word partner. You know, yeah, we're friends, best friends. And then, you know, she has my back, and I've got hers. And it's a beautiful thing, and I don't know that I'll ever come across anything like that in my career again.
That's awesome.
So,
and I think I wrote it when I sent you the outline. It's a pretty well known adage in EMS, probably anywhere, but definitely in EMS. The right partner makes the shift. And I think you probably just described that to a T right there. So how long have you guys been riding together?
Let's see. Well, we found it was a year and 3 months, something like that.
And so you didn't have to talk her into it too much to be on the show? Like it was like a hands down,
no.
like, I'm in, let's do it.
Yeah, it was like, and she, we kind of just looked at each other, and she said, "Do you want to do it?" And I was like, "I don't know.
I'll do it if you do it."
And exactly, that's kind of how it went. And it. we ask ourselves all the time, what in the world?
Well, you know what, and I think I can relate to that, and I think probably, and I'm going to come back to that in a minute on a very positive and a somewhat negative side, but more for now, the positive side. It might be negative for some people. I don't know. Not for me, because you said, we need to start talking about some of the tough stuff and, pulling some of that stigma away from the tough calls. And like I said, I reached out because that season 1, episode 2, the Not Today one. I mean, don't get me wrong. It started out, that first call, hilarious. That was not hilarious because the guy's overdosed on the Mojo stuff. We call it K2 and Spice here, but I don't call him that. I don't call him the Mojo overdose. I call him the Move My Nuts guy. And it was funny because I had my lieutenant when I worked full time. For about 10 years, my lieutenant, he was actually on the show from Discovery Channel way back, late 90s. He was on the Paramedic show when he worked in DC. And we really would give him a lot of shit about that. And it was actually 2 really good episodes. But typical EMS people, we're going to, gently rib them, because if we don't make fun of you, it means we don't like you. So we would give him crap about it, and he would be like, you know what? He's like, listen, Chris. He's like, you saw 44 minutes of them riding with me for 2 months. He's like, the words I would use anytime these shows are on are highly edited, and the move my nuts guy. I was like, man, it looks like they didn't edit too much out of that entire part, because you're just come on, dude. What do you need me to do there? come on.
Right.
And it was.
That guy, he makes me chuckle still. And whenever I had my head in my arm, I was actually trying not to laugh, because I finally realized what he was saying. And I was just like, from going, from somebody trying to kill him and all this to, hey, could you move my nuts?
That was the priority at that point in time. I would have found a way to make that into the report. That would have been in the PCR somewhere. Patient states, yeah. Just there. You want to talk about therapy and decompressing. That would be the way I would do it. Then again, later, same episode. And again, I know highly edited might not have been the same night, obviously, but if you're the general public and you're thinking, it tells you these events happened during 8 p.m. till 4 a.m., so in these different cities. And, people like us, we know, it might have been on the 4th week they were with them all together. They took, they wanted to put the good calls together for this one, and they put these calls together. And I get it, and it doesn't matter to me, because again, I'm just a whacker, and I like EMS, and I'll watch whatever. And it was weird. I didn't find myself. People like us, we watch medical shows, and we're like, yeah, good job, buddy. Hold the laryngoscope in the other hand, stupid. And there,
right.
And I am sure you have run into that. And I didn't even notice myself doing that. And I had my students watch a couple episodes, and they're like, hey, why are they doing that? I'm like, because it might be their protocol. Shut up and watch. It's not what I want you to watch for. I want you to watch how they interact with patients. Don't worry about what they're doing with the EKG cables or how they park the truck. Don't worry about it. Look at the interaction. And then unfortunately, the way social media works, and I had something dumped into my lap the other week. Somebody had posted something from one of the EMS Facebook groups, and I'm not going to say I try to stay away from things like that, but I watched that some admin had to post, like, if you guys do not stop shit posting about the Nightwatch Nation people and what they do, I will remove you from this group. And I was like, ooh, I wonder what they said. And I went and looked, and I was like, here we go. Everybody and their grandmother questioning everything that these guys and girls do. I was like, guys, you don't even work there. Half of them are in school. I was like, you know what? Last time I talked to the paramedic students that I teach, I'm like, you're better seen than heard. You need to be taking everything in. Don't be critiquing all this, and then that has got to kind of, if it makes its way to you. I saw a guy on one of your Instagram posts. He's like, stop saying dude, it makes you sound unprofessional. I'm like, did you notice where she's the paramedic of the year? Pretty sure that's the opposite of unprofessional.
Well, I mean, when you're out there and you're in their environment, you've got to gain those people's trust.
Right, you got to play to your audience.
And whatever you've got to do.
Right.
If I call somebody dude and I save their life, I'm
right.
sorry. But, stuff like that, it's like, okay, if that's what upsets you, I don't really have a comeback for that,
No, and you shouldn't. I mean, you shouldn't have to. And it's like, hey, last time I checked, what do you do at your job? Thanks. And it's like, well,
right.
You find these people they get high and mighty. You're not progressing the profession. You're this, you're that. It's like, I said the word dude.
Well,
I mean,
like,
EMS people are the worst people because we eat our young, and it should be like, wow, these guys took the chance. They went on TV. They showed the job. They showed their shift. They showed their partnership. They showed what they deal with on and off the shift. You should be commended them. You shouldn't be wrapped up in that minutia of like, well, you said you called that guy dude. What we get called a lot of other names. Trust me.
Right.
Yeah. So
right.
It's definitely difficult. When you have to hear that from your own group of people, your police, fire, EMS, public safety, public service. So. It's weird. It gets irritating to have to even read it and realize those people are exposed to it. So it's just one of those. I hate that gets put. It looks like it puts the person. You're personally attacking a person. Like, oh, that's not how I run my truck. It's like, calm down. You run how many calls a year do you run? Relax. You're running 18,000. We're running 74,000 responses and 68,000 transports. Relax. We're still taking care of people.
Right.
So, but again, same episode, you went from the Move My Nuts guy to that AutoPed guy. And that was a big deal. That was the big reason. That was the primary reason I reached out, because it was pretty obvious. And again, it's not, it could be a process of the editing or just in general, but it seemed to me that call, you were visibly upset. Like that call visibly upset you, and what you said, when you said it, how your partner reacted, like, hey, let's not get into that here. Let's do this, and let's move forward to it. It started from the dispatch, just like it normally does. You're looking at that MDT, and your partner was reading everything to you, and you're like, ugh. And you guys pull up, and there's tons of debris in the road, and you could get the emotion out of that call. That was something I instantly noticed.
Right. To kind of go with what you're going with, and in that direction is. Absolutely, when we get dispatched, like, no, that is very real, and that, that's me, and that's one of the things that make Stacey and I's partnership really work, is that we talk those things out, and the cameras were there and captured that, and, that's one of the things that, as a profession, we need to be better about just talking those things out. Doesn't make us weak, because I will say that, and at the, when that call is over with, it's on to the next one. And, as you've got the Move My Nuts guy, where it's kind of comical, and then you've got tragedy. And that's the challenge that paramedics have to deal with on a shift and call-to-call basis. Like, we don't know what we're going to get into. And that's one of the things that, A&E was able to really show really, really well, those emotions that we do go through as providers. And, as horrible as that call was, it was, it shows the beautiful hearts of paramedics, how we care about people. And in our world today where there's so much hate, it's good to see, everybody actually does matter.
Well, it's keeping that job very human. And I think a lot of people, especially on our side of the house, on the public safety side of the house, I think that's why there's such a stigma where it is, where you put up the caution tape, you wall it off, you just move on to the next call because I might have to go run a bad breather and do an intubation on the next one, and that's going to have a very positive outcome, and that'll make it worth it. And you dehumanize it a little bit. You're like, well, I'll just kind of, I won't worry about it. And then all of a sudden that dehumanizing it becomes very unhealthy. And again, more social media, it seems to me, because we're so connected with news and notifications through the different pages, it seems like, you're losing a provider a day. To suicide over PTSD and burnout, or you've known somebody who just couldn't come to work, they need a couple weeks off, or what have you, and they don't talk about it, or you lose somebody and you didn't even know that was a thing in their life. You thought they were pretty squared away, and when we talked about that a little bit on a couple of the other episodes, and it's definitely something we need to address, and I think it's becoming a lot more with the Code Green campaign and a lot of the things that are out there between, more regionalized CISM and peer support and everything like that. But I thought it was just really good that was captured, and it, again, by no agenda of anything. It just happened, and it was showcased because that was part of the show. That was part of the project. Right. And it was just, it struck me. And I think there was also a point to it where and it was funny coming from some of the students, and they were like, wow, she's really broke up about that. What's up with that somebody does it all the time. I was like, that's the whole point, is that someone who does it all the time, who's probably seen that more times than they can count, that still has that effect. It's more when it doesn't have the effect that you need to self-evaluate and go, why doesn't that bother me as much as it used to? Am I becoming used to it? Am I turning myself off to it? You have to become really introspective about it and have those hard conversations. So it was good to see that emotion.
Yourself to feel
right.
Like we are human at the end of the day, and that episode, like I said, it was one that really, I didn't know what all they were going to show, but after, seeing it, I was like, oh man, and a lot of people reached out to me and were like, I hope you're not struggling. And it's like, I was being real with my partner at that moment. And that's the whole entire point of, the show, really. And I was glad that it could be translated and applied to current events in EMS. But, that is something that, we deal with, and you better be ready for the next call.
And it was, however it worked out, I think it was portrayed, it was perfect. And it's weird because I think you have to be in EMS or public safety to recognize the nuances of what was said, and especially what wasn't said that was shown in body language and nonverbal stuff. And without becoming too much of a psychologist, it smacked me in the face, and I was like, I'm going to email her. I'm going to find her. We should talk about that. And then, you had some other stuff, and so I got jealous. I'll tell you, I'll personally say it's funny because I know I'm sure other providers will relate. So you run a call like that, and you said, I got to go run the next one no matter what. You guys said, I can't remember if it was you or if it was your partner, like, hey, we need to go get yogurt now. And I was like, yeah, that sounds like stuff we do say. Absolutely. Because I always think, like, I know what I say. If we run a death, or we run a, resuscitation, we had to stop, or a bad call, we'll sit there and say, I'm like, look, man, we got to go do another call. We got to go like birth a kid or something. We got to put one in the win column for the shift.
Right.
I'm going to feel bad if I go home on the downer. Let's go birth a kid. And your partner's like, right. I don't want to do that either. I'm like, it's better than this. Come on,
Right.
Circle of Life. And you guys are like, let's get yogurt. And I was like, you know what? That's the way too. Let's go do that. And then at the end of the
Right.
show, again, editing aside, guys are eating yogurt. I'm like, what the hell yogurt place is open at 4:00 in the morning? And then I was like,
Everybody wants to ask that.
I want to move to Baton Rouge. I'm in. You guys have frozen yogurt open at 4 a.m. I'm in.
Yeah, we sure do. The racetrack has frozen yogurt.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, where are you going to get frozen yogurt at 4 a.m.? I'm in. My shift ends at 5. I used to work 5 to 5. I'm like, I'm in. Where do I sign up?
Baton Rouge is the ticket. That's where. So,
That's awesome.
yeah, it's funny. That's been the most frequently asked local question. Where were you guys getting?
Yeah, where can I do
yogurt
that?
at 4 a.m.? I'm like, well, gosh, y'all just close the shutters and
Right.
don't come out or whatever.
You also said something during that. You said you're talking to your partner. You guys were decompressing a little bit. And you said, I struggle with my own mortality when you run calls like that. I mean, what do you really mean by that? Where does that really come in?
I feel like that anytime we encounter death, you have to think, gosh, one day, one time, that's going to happen to me. And, again, seeing all the awful, it's like, gosh, it does. It makes me question, how is my end? It's not something that I dwell on, but, in that moment, absolutely, it makes you want to take advantage of those I should have, I could have. And, yeah, most of the time when I go home, that's exactly what I do.
So when you're at home, do you split? You split from EMS 100%. You try and focus on other stuff that's not EMS related, or?
Oh yeah, I mean, most of my friends are paramedics,
Right?
And of course, if they're obviously want to talk about something, we'll talk about it. But for the most part, it's just lighthearted, silly conversation.
And are you seeing a change? I mean, are you seeing that's helpful, or I mean, even in a small circle of friends, or is it something maybe you do CISM for the service? Do you see it service wide? You pretty well adjusted medics? Do you build it into your training programs for your new guys and stuff like that?
Now we do. So EMS is being proactive in that. And again, to each their own. If a medic feels like they need it, if they don't feel like they need it.
And I think a lot of places are moving to that, and I think the amount of resources out there are a lot better.
Right.
A lot of, I didn't know that it was really popular with police departments to have a lot of the CIT teams, and I was like, man, they've been getting the training years before EMS. We're the ones who should be into the crisis intervention stuff. And, our state in South Carolina, we've recently really bolstered it. What they call it the FAST team. And it's statewide. And then we have it broken up into regions, and they really are recruiting, and there's a lot of interest in it, which to me says, it's finally okay to sit there and say, you know what, I need to talk to somebody. I need to talk to somebody that's not in my organization, or
Right.
I need to, the local pastor's not cutting it. I may need someone to prescribe me meds, or I may need someone to classify this for me, which is great. And I think that does open, it allows people to be more open within the shift, where you start to find out if people were struggling with stuff that you were like, man, I had no idea. Well, how would you if nobody wanted to talk about it? So I'm glad that it's coming to light. I'm glad. I think it's another thing that's going to progress us. It's going to keep people around. It's going to decrease those suicides or the burnout, the compassion fatigue. And again, like you said, we're young. We have a lot to learn, and I think it's just part of that growing process. There's another growing pain. So, but I'm glad it's going that route.
Right.
So overall, what was your experience with the show? Did you guys look back on it and go, man, that was what I wanted. That was exactly what I wanted out of it.
Well, yeah, obviously dealing with some of the aftermath from some of the things, it's like, or criticism, it's like, oh man, you just kind of have to shrug that off. As a whole, I am glad that Stacey and I took that challenge and that we did it. There's, and it's bittersweet. You're talking to me tonight with our season finale.
Right.
It was like, oh man, I'm going to get in my feels about that. Everybody that's associated with this show, the production company, and even, you know, A&E, the network, the people that I've met, I mean, they've just been amazing. And it's, you know, you're just thankful that you had that encounter and that you had that opportunity. And so while it's entertainment, it's real life. And, you know, and we developed real relationships with the people.
That's good. And you know, I think, again, I said, I really do think this was shot so much better, and I don't know what it is. It might be part to do with me, or it might just be a lot to do with the production of it. It just seems to hold my attention, you know, or maybe it's because I'm not in the field full time anymore because of teaching, but it absolutely holds my attention, and maybe it's the variety of it. I'm like, oh, we're going to Texas now. Let's see what's going on. You know, let's see how these guys do it.
It's like, right. I do love that. I do love that we get to see how they do it in Austin, how they do it in Tucson, and how they do it in Yonkers. You know, and it's crazy because I'm getting to meet Alex next week, and I'm excited about that. But you know, that's been cool. You know, just the people that it brought, you know, to expose me to, that I get to meet those people and, you know, see how they run calls. You know, Austin's been great. They've all been great, Tucson and Yonkers. Super, super awesome. And, you know, to kind of throw it back a little bit, you know, when Titus was getting his paramedic from Nightwatch, I was his paramedic preceptor.
I saw that picture and I was like, that's so cool. That tie-in, man. That's great. So.
Well, I mean, it's crazy because I didn't know that he was associated with the show. You know, to me, he was just another student.
Another student, right?
We laugh about that. You know, we laugh about that now. But if you ask him how I treated him, he couldn't believe that I didn't know he was part of the show. He obviously has become a friend, but yeah, with their new show, Nightwatch presents First Responders. I mean, I'm just excited for him too.
Yeah, I watched a couple of those. Those looked real. Those look like a lot of fun. Those look like a lot of fun. I was jealous. I'm like, man, I got to move a little more further south.
Hey, we do it all down here. But you know, to kind of go back with what you're saying about people, you know, you shouldn't say dude or whatever.
Right.
It's like we talk a little different down south.
Right.
You know, everybody is a ma'am, a sir, and
right.
a honey and baby. Like we do that. They tell you not to say that in paramedic. You know, it's like.
But it's part of the culture. It becomes a vernacular. It becomes the culture, and it's weird if you don't do it. Like sometimes it's looked at, you know, that's disrespectful if you don't do this, or you know, like, oh, you're not from. I'm from Pennsylvania, and I moved to South Carolina. You know, and I mean, I finally. It took me a couple of years, but I had the call. Where people said, "You're not from around here, are you, boy?" And I was like, "Oh, I see. You're still mad with that Civil War thing." I was a sole provider on a quick response vehicle, and I was like, man, where is that ambulance? I hope they have a little bit of a southern accent because I gotta go. These people don't like me because of this, you know. And I'm just trying my hardest to like gain some type of rapport for the next 5 or 10 minutes until the ambulance gets there to transport. So, I understand. I absolutely understand that. So what you know. You're, you know, East Baton Rouge. I mean, you guys seem to have a ton of opportunity in that service. The city looks beautiful. When I was doing the research to kind of before you came on and kind of get an idea of the area. And like I said yesterday, I'd been to Lafayette, and I really didn't realize that Baton Rouge was right between New Orleans and Lafayette. And you know, what is East Baton Rouge like? What are you guys doing? What's happening? You know, what's next for your service? I mean, you guys seem to have like a lot of outreach, a lot of service to the community.
Yeah, you know, obviously we're have the community paramedic program. We'd like to expand that. You know, we are the biggest parish in the state of Louisiana.
Okay. So you're
a lot of people. Yeah.
And I think you guys also, I think a few years ago, you guys also produced. You guys had like the Medic of the Year, like National Medic of the Year, right? I think somebody.
Yeah,
I thought I read that
Bailey.
somebody had won that.
Susan Bailey. She's
Yeah.
now the director of the Bureau of EMS for the state of Louisiana. So, we've got a lot of talented people, and the best thing I feel like with the show coming to town is that the community really gets to see the great people that are out to serve them. And I mean, I couldn't be more happy for the department. Obviously, it inspired me to become a paramedic, so I wish nothing but the best for East Baton Rouge EMS.
Do you guys get a lot of community support because of it? Have you guys got a lot more hand waves and thank you for your services type things, and man, I love the show, stuff like that?
Right. I'm just walking around in Walgreens, and people are like, "Can I take a picture with you?"
Right.
I'm like, sure.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
I mean, that happened before with children and stuff, but this is adult, and
right.
It's a little different, but
right. It kind of takes you back. Normally, people are like,
cool.
"Can you check my blood pressure?" And you're like, "Wait,
right.
take a picture with you? What?" That's awesome. I love it. I love hearing that. All right, so I'm not to run too long, and it's my way to talk into coming back on. But I got really quick question. So, you might be doing? I get two. Do you have a dream EMS job? Since you say you're not going too far, I mean, you gonna just be the medic forever? Are you looking to be the chief? You're looking to do education? Like, what's next for LACEY SPENCER?
Eventually. Again, I'm relatively young in my career in EMS. I mean, 9 years. That's not a dinosaur.
No, not yet. But you're approaching veteran.
Right. And so there's still a whole lot of drive as far as I want to be involved in that next generation. As far as if you come to work here, I want to help your success. So that would be the next step for me, just to help train new hires and to orient them into the field in a deeper way. Yeah.
This that's a stupid question, but the Red Stick Medic hashtag. So what is it? Is it the stripe on the bottom of the truck?
No.
What does it mean?
No.
What does it mean?
All right, I got you, man. So Baton Rouge is French, obviously, and it's a marker. Our city was founded on a marker between the Indian.
I feel instantly stupid as you're explaining this. Rouge, red in French. Baton, marker, stick. I'm gonna go. I need to do better research.
You're not the first person that asked. And so, anytime we can show off the culture of Louisiana, I mean, we got to do it because we have such an eclectic mix of people within our state.
That's so much cooler now that I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to ask her this question and it's going to end up being the red stripe on the bottom of the truck and you're going to sound like an idiot. Well, I sound like an idiot because I don't know French. No. But now I know.
I mean, it just goes to show you the French, influence all around the state, by having parishes instead of counties.
Right.
And, the different names and all of that. And our food, I mean, it's just everywhere. I mean, it's in our name.
Awesome. That's great. All right. Well, again, in the sense of not, keeping you, and plus I'm going to get home and eat some dinner and get ready for the finale. I want to watch it, obviously. What else? Anything you want to say? What else do you have? You got anything that you got dying to say, want to say to everybody, or whatever?
Oh, no. Just when they watch the show, just enjoy themselves. Don't try and pick it apart.
Don't overthink it. Don't worry about what you would do.
Don't overthink it.
Yeah.
It's not a made for TV thing. It's reality.
It's reality TV,
has
right?
To be put into a show, and so our profession is getting showcased on a national level, and enjoy that. Enjoy it.
I enjoy it. I enjoy it 100%. Like I can't be more upfront about that than I already have. I mean, I absolutely enjoy the show. I really hope it gets picked up for a second season. Do you think the show, and especially you guys, where it shows 4 different cities, Do you think that and there's a provider shortage across the country, and a lot of people have different views on it. The economy is doing better, so these aren't jobs that people typically flock to. I always joke with the students, or I joke with people like, you're 7 years old, you see the fire truck go by and the oh, shiny diamond plate and red lights and sirens. I want to do that. I want to run into the burning building. There's not too many people out there who look at the ambulance and go, ooh, ambulance, I want to do that. It's usually you have to have that exposure, or you talk to somebody, and we're in the shortage. Do you think shows, I think that the show will hopefully push people. Like I said, my little girl, she loves live PD. She's like, I want to be a canine cop. I was like, Daddy would like to see you on the ambulance.
Well, I mean, yeah, Chris, to answer that question, tons of people have reached out to me and, said, I want to go be an EMT, watching the show inspire, or it's helping them through school or, whatever. And it's like, that's cool. And so, yes, I think that shows like this are absolutely helping not only bring awareness to our profession, but, inspiring people to come out and do it.
I hope that happens. I hope I just for that fact, I would absolutely support that show. Shows like these continuing on because we need them. We know it. I see it here at the school in enrollment. I see it in the field. I see the medics and the EMTs getting younger and younger because they're right out of school, and we have a lot of our older people retiring. And it's a lot of our street leadership, and it's like, man, who's leading? I look, the students ask me questions. They're like, well, what about this? What about this? I'm like, look, that's going to be you in 10 years. You're going to be leading EMS. You're going to have to solve that problem, or you're going to have to make it better for the next round of students coming through. You guys will be the preceptors. You'll be the training officers. You're going to be the ambassadors of EMS. That's what I need. I don't need to just put out good medics. I need to put out people who are going to stay a little while and have that passion for it. Not necessarily move on. I want people to move on and be successful, but I want people to say, hey, look, this is a needed job. It's not going to go anywhere. We need to people are getting older. We need to help people and keep them interested. So I'm glad that you think that the show absolutely will help that. It's good to hear from somebody like that. So
right, and think about it though. A&E is absolutely, they've set a precedent for showing first responders.
Absolutely.
And so without a network like that, we would not have that response. And so my hat's off to them for showcasing it.
Absolutely. I think, like I said, phenomenal job from the production company, the camera people, all of it. You guys, especially. I think it was awesome. And like we joked, I worked a couple shifts, during the run of the season. I told my partner, I was like, Doc, it's gonna be our night watch. Come on, man. He's like, what are you talking about? I was like, well, you're not watching the show? And he's like, no. I was like, you better get on it. I was like, it's super positive. You should go check it out. It's funny. Some people that, you would have thought like, oh, every medic in America is watching this. But it was cool. Right. And then they come back, they're like, man, that's a really good show. Like I binge watched it this weekend. So.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, they're like, man, why didn't anyone tell me it was on? I was like, well, I didn't know. We need to send that out in the newsletter.
Right, and it's like, as we pick up traction, it's like, boom, it's the season finale. And it's like, where'd it go? Wait.
Right, I need another 6 episodes. 10's not going to do it for me. I need 16.
There you go. But anyway, it was a pleasure talking to you, Chris, and if you need something else, man, just hit me up.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming on. I appreciate it. I think there's probably a ton of more things we can talk about, and I'm not going to lose your number, your email, and I hope you guys get picked up for season 2, and I can't wait to see the finale tonight.
All right. Thanks, man.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
See ya.